All 7 days of the week have 24 hours. All 7 days of the week have evening and morning. And every hour has 60 minutes. Every minute has 60 seconds. On the basis of those indisputable facts, what makes the seventh day different from every other day? Because the Bible presents it as absolutely different. What makes it different is the fact that the very presence of God is in that day. When the Bible says God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, blessing is a product of divinity. It proceeds from divinity, and wherever the blessing of God rests in some way, God's presence is there. The presence of God in a very personal way is in the seventh day in a way it is not in any other day from Sunday to Friday. For those of you familiar with the sanctuary service, we know that there was the outer court, there was the holy place, and the most holy place. Surely we'll all agree. The outer court was holy, yes. The holy place was holy, but the most holy was holiest of all, because there is where the personal presence of God was. The Levite could assist the priest in the outer court, and in the holy place, only the priest could enter the most holy. So the presence of God, the personal, intense presence of God, was in the most holy place in a way it was not in the holy or in the outer court or in the camp of the Israelites. Having established that, we can agree or see the reasonable approach to this position that the personal presence of God is in the seventh day in a way it is not in the others, because the others were not blessed and hallowed or set aside. We move from the seventh day Sabbath now to the Sabbath keeper. What makes a Sabbath keeper different from anyone else? Notice I said a Sabbath keeper, not simply someone who does not go to work on Saturday. Millions fit that description, but they're not Sabbath keepers. You and I need adenosine triphosphate as the most basic element of energy, or unit of energy. Animals have the same thing. Worms have the same thing. Bugs have the same thing. We're carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. Animals are the same thing. They reproduce, so do we. They need fuel, so do we. They need water, so do we. They breathe, so do we. What makes us different? The presence of God in the life of the Sabbath keeper, in a way that makes him or her different from any other human being. What do I mean by that? Paul tells us in Romans chapter 3, verse 1 and verse 2, that what made the Israelites different from everyone else, what gave them an advantage, was that they were given the law of God, or the oracles of God. No other nation had the direct transmission of God's will as expressed in his law. That made them different now. A true Sabbath keeper has those very oracles, that same law written in his or her heart. And from its internal position in the believer, it expresses the very righteousness of God. Because one of the reasons Christ came, Romans 8 verse 4, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us. My listening friend, if you are a true Sabbath keeper, not simply someone who sleeps on the seventh day, a Sabbath keeper, oh, may the Spirit of God grant you the consciousness that this day is different because the living presence of God is in this day, because he blessed it and he made it holy and he hallowed it, and by so doing he invested it with his personal presence. And you are different as a Sabbath keeper. Why? Because the living law of God is written in your heart, and from its internal location it expresses through you with your constant surrender the very righteousness of Christ. But it does that 7 days a week. So while the Sabbath is one holy day, because of the presence of God's law in us, we as Sabbath keepers must be holy 7 days a week. As you keep the Sabbath holy, remember that day is different because the personal presence of God is in it. Remember, you are different because on your heart is written the Decalogue, the standard of God's righteousness, the express will of God, God's living law. May the Lord bless you as you in humility keep the Sabbath holy.